All right, this is a big topic. The Toronto Star is reporting that with stiff competition for spots in really sought-after programs, some Canadian universities are going just beyond looking at students' grades, and they're now also really deeply evaluating students on their community involvement, their life experiences, their goals, all those extracurriculars. So should extracurricular activities be considered as part of a university application? And if I can go one step further, how much weight should we put on those? Enoch?
I think it's so important. It's very much necessary. I think that when you look at what extracurriculars, and I'm obviously with my sports background and having played for over a decade professional football, there's so much value that comes out of that beyond just the wins and the losses and trophies and all of that. And it allows you to be such more of a well-rounded individual. And when you can take these values that these extracurricular activities kind of bring to you, you become a better professional, regardless of the industry that you find yourself in. All these standardized tests, as hard as they might be, yes, you got to study and everything, but people become experts as passing those tests. But are they really competent professionals in their fields when they do go? Because at the end of the day, life, and these MCATs, LSATs, all of these tests, they're tough, they're challenging, yes, and you can pass it, but life always happens to everybody, right? So when life happens to you, how are you going to respond? And these extracurricular activities, I think, allow you to kind of exceed and succeed.
I think you're 100% right. I just wonder what we mean by extracurriculars. And I think people automatically think sports, and I don't know, I think that it's incredibly valuable, but I think it can be many different other things. And I don't think this is arts, exactly.
Yeah,
so what are we talking about? Volunteering, like
yes,
all these
absolutely.
different kinds of things that showcase who you are. And to me, this is nothing new. Like, this is something that in the arts programs, like, I had to do this in order to get into a university. I had to volunteer at a TV station, learned all the things, wrote them down, did volunteer work, all those kinds of things. I guess what I wonder is like, why we're here, and what's the flip side of this? Is you're just looking at marks? And how did we get to the point where we have so many people who are getting A+, and that's why we're needing this extra element as, like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I'm on the opposite end of this conversation, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was in high school, I had to get a part-time job so that I could afford to do things for myself. I also had to help take care of my younger sibling, and I didn't have time for extracurriculars. But I worked really hard, and I was very ambitious, and I wanted to get into university. And so listening to this conversation, if someone said, well, you wouldn't have gotten into the university that you went into because you didn't have all of these extracurriculars, you just had a part-time job, I would be like, excuse me? I worked really hard, and I deserve to be here. And also, what we're not discussing with this, right, is that all of these extracurriculars, this is a socioeconomic issue as well, because a lot of these extracurriculars cost a lot of money. Because I do these extracurriculars now. I play tennis, I'm going to go skiing, I do lots of different things, but those things cost money. And I hear these parents talk about thousands of dollars for their kid to be a part of a soccer team or a softball team, and they're spending their entire weekend. Not all parents have that kind of time and those types of resources. And even the volunteer work, because it's like, oh, you got to volunteer. Well, how did you get into that volunteer work? Did your mom or dad know someone at that company that got you at the top of that list so you could volunteer? It's not always a fair system, so I think it's not fair to create another barrier for the kids who don't have access to be like, oh, your marks aren't enough. If you're not kayaking, well, I'm sorry, you can't get into this university. I don't think it's fair.
I agree with the socioeconomic portion of things, but there's chess clubs that I think are even important. Sure. Lessons at school, and then school teams also, I think, allow you to kind of dive into this world that on your own you probably wouldn't have been into, just because you have to work with people around you that might not think like you, right? But you have to accomplish that same goal.
I played chess, but I didn't have time for the chess club because I had a job and I had homework to do. I had other things that I had to do. So knowing how to play chess and then belonging to a club, I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking about belonging to a club. I knew how to do it.
Yeah, I think this is I think you all are bringing up a lot of parts of university. The flip side of this discussion is that universities are businesses, and so part of this pipeline is a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots, and we are just widening the gap if you are leaving out the kids whose parents cannot afford all the hockey gear, all the basketball gear, going to the tournaments, and that is a reality. And a lot of universities, especially in Canada right now, because we've shut the door on so many international students, they're hurting for money. And I hate to say it, they've shown this in all the Ivy League schools in the States. Why do you think, if you take a look at the sports and the extracurricular extracurriculars that matter. It's the sports that require the money to already be playing them. So why is there an emphasis on row club? What is row club giving people? What about tennis? What about golf? Even the equestrian sports. People require money because the business side is, I don't just want the kid who's doing the good marks and has the extracurriculars. I need mom and dad to also make big fat donations to the universities. Like, the pipeline is real. The flip side is that I have a daughter, we have kids that maybe one day want to, maybe should go to university, because there is also a competitive part of this in real life. The kids who have only high school diplomas versus the kids who have university degrees. Who's going to make more money in their lifetime? So the gaps are widening, the haves, the have-nots. So I think every kid should sit down, regardless of what they are doing, extracurricular or not, and everybody should have a face-to-face interview with the admissions deans.
Big time.
That's what I think should have it. State your case. State your case. Enoch, we love your perspective on everything, and that's why we love having you here. Thanks for coming back.
Always love coming.
Always good. Always
Thank
good.
you.